This episode of the Tiers podcast, Stevie and I sat down and ranked the teams into 4 categories of how they've gone so far this season. It was a little bit difficult, but we mostly agreed.
Yeah, we got there in the end, and then we couldn't resist but to have a bit of a chat. We got the grand final coming up, and we wanted to make a little bit of a guess, prediction, call it what you like, but who's going to take away that prize? $2 million for that one race. Season 5 championship title up for grabs. Take a listen. Hi there and welcome back to another episode of SailGP Tiers. We're getting close to crunch time in the race to Abu Dhabi. And well, it's been 4 pretty, to say the least, action-packed events since we last caught up, Lisa. Nice of you to come and join me. How you doing?
Oh, it's awesome to be back. But as you said, so much drama, action has unfolded since we caught up just after Portsmouth. The leaderboard, still sort of the top 4 that were in there, but a little bit of shuffling going on, and it's really heating up to the final. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it is. And for any of you guys that haven't sort of joined us on SailGP Tiers before, just to give you an idea, we're going to try and break down the teams into 4 different categories. So we've got top of their game, sort of speaks for itself a little bit. We've got what could have been. So what teams are feeling a bit sort of hard done by their season and would have wanted a bit more from it. One step forward. So that's obviously kind of based around those teams that we're starting to see some improvements, some, sprouts of green and positivity for them looking ahead to season 6. And then the final category, I guess the bracket you probably don't want to find yourself in, but that's going to be the bracket. It's called tough conversations to be had. So that's, for the teams that have got to really get back and do some work and make things happen. So yeah, first of all, let's take a look back. I'm not actually sure I'm looking forward to this first bit of the conversation because we're going to look back at the predictions we made at the beginning of the season with, in theory, our expert knowledge, which I'm a bit worried I might have lost that job. Questionable. We're going to sort of see what we predicted and then have a look at where they're actually sitting right now.
Well, top of the leaderboard, obviously Emirates, Great Britain. Neither of us had them leading. You had Spain. I had New Zealand. Therefore, I'm closer and I win. But still an event to go. So, yeah, neither of us had them. And I think in the future, we will have to work out a tally system to make sure that...
Happy to let it ride this time, though. No problem. If we just brush through it this time, we'll work out a scoring system for season 6. How about that?
That sounds like a deal. Yeah. In second place, currently, obviously New Zealand. They've had a pretty good season, not as dominant as last year, but you had them second, so you get a point for that. I had Australia in second.
Yeah, well, and Australia actually right now sat in third.
Yeah.
And I think I said they were
You also
third.
had Australia. Why did you think I was going to lead this? Maybe down. You got to keep going down the leaderboard. Yeah, so you had Australia in third and I had a Great Britain. So obviously, a very different leaderboard to we've seen in previous championships, but it's still all to play for. And then in fourth, we have the Spanish, so last year's champions. I had them in fourth and you had Great Britain in fourth.
Yeah, I did. And I think I suppose speaks volumes, really. The British have had some season. Remembering it's Dylan Fletcher's first
It's incredible.
season back in the team,
To think that, I guess, sort of when we made these predictions, there was a lot of rumours of who was going to be driving or flying or trimming wings.
Yeah, and in fairness, that's why my predictions probably weren't quite as perfect as they would have been had I had all the information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, moving down. France are currently in 5th. I had them in 5th. You had Denmark in 5th. In 6th, we've got Canada. You had Italy. I had Canada. I'm sounding pretty good
Italy
right now.
was a big call, wasn't it, in hindsight? That was a big call.
You put a lot of money on Kyle Langford.
I put a lot of money on Kyle Langford, as did RedBull Italy, I think.
And then in 7th, we have Denmark. You had Canada. I had Denmark. And then 8th, Switzerland. I think 9th is Germany. We both had Germany in 9th, so they're sitting where they should be according to the experts. 10th is Italy. You had Switzerland. I had Brazil. 11th is Brazil. And 12th is USA. Yeah. So nothing's looking perfect at the moment. I think just...
Sounds to me like you did shade it. Sounds to me like you got it right. We've got one event to go. I need some fairly serious shuffle.
You need the Spanish to have a comeback.
I need the Spanish, and I think the Italians. I really need a big end of the season from the Italians. But, nothing's set in stone yet. There's a few interesting battles. I mean, I guess ultimately the battle for the grand final, that top 4's.
That can fully change.
Yes, that's the real massive story going ahead. But I think, let's get back to it. We're going to go with a different way of going about this. I'm a bit over constantly that we start this podcast with Australia. Last time you really struggled with the alphabet.
I did.
I was going to bring in a kid one, but
I've
I
been
thought...
studying, so we should be okay
Okay,
today.
so we'll do that. So we're going to start off with teams' names.
Okay, so that would take us to the black foils.
Perfect. Yeah. So you just rolled through A and got straight to B.
Straight to B.
Love your
black foils.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, awesome for them to be second overall in the championship. They're in a really good position. Probably wanted to have the dominance that they had last season. I think, I had a little bit of doubt with the Kiwis after 4 or 5 events so far in the season, but as sort of this European leg has been going, they've kind of shown that they're still right in the mix, that they can still push it. Obviously, they won in Portsmouth and they've kind of had a bit of an up and down couple of events, but I think going into the UAE, they're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I mean, sat second, I think personally, yeah, they didn't have the dominance of last year, and I guess we'll probably chat more about that through the podcast, but is it them or is it everyone else has got better? I kind of feel like it's got better. The racing's tighter. That ability to dominate probably isn't there. The fact they're in that second place, as you say, they won in Portsmouth. They were second in Cadiz last event. So they're very much still in there. And I think what's sort of most impressive about them is, that we talk about the big three, the driver, wing trimmer, or flight controller. And I think if you're changing one of them in or out, it's a big moment. And they lost Andy Maloney. He was purchased. I don't know if you ever found out how much money they got for him. But anyway,
Maloney's money.
Yeah, Maloney's money podcast I must have missed. But we lost Maloney. They got in Leo Takahashi, young guy, and he's kind of grown into the role through the season. I think when you listen to the onboard comms, you can hear Blair Tukes doing a pretty good job with the comms, really working with him. So I think maybe Blair's slightly stretched in that he's having to, share
give a bit of his energy.
Yeah, give us a little bit of that. And I think the Kiwis aren't quite, maybe because of that, maybe other reasons, I don't know. But they're not quite as quick as they were last year,
Yeah, and making a few mistakes around the racetrack. Either way, top of the game.
Handy.
We agree. Great way to start.
Yeah.
That was an easy one. Yeah. Next up, we have the Bonds FlyingRoos.
Even when we change the alphabet, they're still right at the top of it. Okay.
I mean,
top of their game.
They're also top of their game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's not obviously same thing. We expect dominance from people like Peter Burling and Tom Slingsby.
Yes.
So to come in third and be like, that's not where they would expect to be. But I think for them, that this last event in Cadiz was probably their worst of the season, I think. But other than that, they've had a pretty consistent season. They've been there. I think I've been impressed with their light wins, how they went in Geneva. Obviously didn't take the win there, but how they adapted to the new foils. I think for them, their season is still very much alive whilst they're sitting in third and they've got to keep the Spanish behind them and things like that. They're still there. They're still one that can definitely take out this season championship.
Yeah, and I think they're pretty fast. That's the other thing. I feel like, especially in the lighter breeze, as we, I think Abu Dhabi, we could get a pretty solid medium day. I don't know that we're going to have a windy one. I'd be surprised at that. I think we could have a solid moderate breeze.
Moderate breeze on that race course. That race course is going to
feel pretty windy. Yeah, that's real true. But so I think Draper's been a nice addition to that light wind. Perhaps evened them out a bit as a bit less of a sort of upper wind range specialist.
I think they do well when they go with less crew members as well compared to the rest of the fleet. I think they kind of can handle the multitasking maybe a little bit.
I mean, after that Portsmouth, we had that incident which kind of grew and seemed to get bigger and bigger on social media with
the penalty in Canada.
And it feels like Slingsby and Craig have been kind of, our chief umpire Craig Mitchell have kind of been,
going head to head every event pretty much.
Feels like it, yeah. And I think that'll be a little story for, Tom's season is, do we turn up in Abu Dhabi with confident Tom or slightly in himself Tom? Because I still think confident Tom is
he's a danger
awesome.
to everybody else. Yeah.
But anyway, we're putting them top of their game, and I don't feel like we need to dwell.
No, because I feel like as we get down the alphabet, we could have some disagreements. I'm excited for the fight. Next up, we've got Emirates Great Britain. Easy one.
Yeah.
Top of their game, exceeded expectations in my opinion. I think throughout the wind ranges, they're sailing really well. They had that little bit of a wobbly bit earlier in the season, but since Portsmouth, they've just been incredible to watch, great to listen to with the onboards, and going in with a 9-point buffer to fourth, they're looking pretty safe for that final.
Yeah, I think, they're as good as in. And yeah, it seemed a huge call when we did this first one, and I'm not sure if they'd announced Dylan or they were about to announce Dylan, and we were...
I think we might have known that we put it on.
Yeah, keeping it under the radar. What do you know right now, Lisa, that I don't know?
I know so much that I'm just like...
Okay, copy that. But I think, I think Dylan's been a revelation. Is that too much to say? Not really. He's a gold medalist. He did season 1 with the British team before Ben Ainsley came and kind of bought the franchise and had grown it to become Emirates GB, which is obviously a much sort of bigger deal than it is now. But so Dylan's it's not like you've just got some wet behind the ears nobody coming in.
Yeah, you've got a champion coming in, but he's got massive shoes to fill with a lot of pressure to prove himself, and that's what he's done.
Yeah, and they'd sort of, whether they'd eased out Giles or whether Giles had actually, willingly gone to the Northstar Canada, there's who knows about that, but a big shoes to fill. And I think they've been a bit of a revelation for me, really. Well, hence why I put them as fourth. You knew they'd be in the mix. I think if you get in the boat with Hannah Mills stood behind you, Ian Jensen stood in front of you, those grinding team, Neil Hunter, Nick Hutton, and then you got Parko flying it. You're kind of, it's a bit of a golden ticket in many ways, but equally that sort of expectation and stuff. Got to say, fair play to Dylan. So Emirates GBR, top of their game.
All right, so first three teams in the championship.
Do you reckon that's why they've made us do it in this order? Like, have they done this for us? Are they trying to force our hand where we put them?
Well, then we have next up Germany, Deutsche Bank.
Now, this is a good one, right? And the reason it's a good one, after our podcast in Sassnitz,
before
Sassnitz, and in that I was pretty scathing.
Season over.
Yeah.
No, there's always next season.
There's always next season.
There's always next season.
And actually, they then went and had a good Sassnitz, and of course
missed out on the final, right?
Yeah, they had a good one in Saint-Tropez. They were right outside the final as well, and then they won in Geneva. At which point, James Wabowski
tagged us both on social media.
What do you reckon, anti-commentators? That's my Australian accent.
The reverse curse, as we call it.
The reverse curse. And I think, James Wabowski, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You needed a kick up the backside. They were underperforming, weren't they? They seem to have I've seen on, I think it was Racing on the Edge, or I can't remember which show. Yeah, I think it was Racing on the Edge I saw it on. But there was like a team meeting. And I'd love to know what was said in that meeting, because someone got I don't know, in England we call it the hairdryer. You get screamed at and, you're given the full talking down as to what's going on. I don't know if that's how they went about it.
They had a tough conversation.
They had a tough conversation. Yeah, they got to it. And since then, and this is where I feel I'm maybe going to challenge you on an opinion of where I feel actually they go into what could have been. Because if you take it since Portsmouth, where up until then,
halfway through the season, right?
They were, I believe, shocking in terms of the talent they've got on the boat and the ability they should have delivered. If they had that form all season, they'd be in the top 3.
True.
So what could have been if they'd have like done whatever they did, drank the Kool-Aid, finally looked at the data. I don't know what it was. Yeah. I'm sure they were looking at the data, but do you know what I mean? Whatever they did, they're now championship form. If that consistency.
Yeah.
So what were they doing at the beginning of the year, Lisa?
They were colliding with boats and
they were doing pretty much everything they could.
Everything that they shouldn't have. I had them with one step forward.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that, halfway through a season to then obviously find your form, fantastic. But I think for them, it's like they've kind of unlocked that new gear. So, okay, gear's unlocked, it's all going well. All right, now we can kind of take what we've learned and take it forward. So they've made the changes that they've needed to make, and they've made it at a good part of the season. So whilst it's I guess sometimes you're kind of focusing on the season at hand and you're thinking, oh, well, I'm still got events to win and I've still got this, and not kind of changing the way you do things. Like they took the opportunity to be like, okay, we really need to look at ourselves now. And rather than say what we put them in is there's always next year, they said, well, there's still events to be won this year. So I think that they've taken one step forward and that they can carry that momentum into next season.
And do you reckon it's like, was it the pressure? And then actually winning that first race in front of their home crowd? Like they won the first race in Sassnitz in front of their home crowd. I mean,
did they thrive under the pressure?
Yeah, do they
it's
thrive?
Like the moment is now.
Did that then take the shackles off?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, you know, they just missed the final in Sassnitz, didn't they? And then, I don't know,
well, I mean,
there must be a confidence that's come into it.
Yeah, because obviously I mentioned that they had the collisions and stuff at the beginning of the season, but Portsmouth, that's when they hooked the mark. They didn't even finish. Like it was like watching a car crash in slow motion sometimes. Whereas now it's like, yeah, as you said, it looks like they're just sailing freer. They're, you know, we kind of saw moments of magic, but we never saw them put it all together. So it's hard because yes, it is what could have been, but I'm still thinking one step forward. You might have to. I don't know which. I
mean, let's be honest. I'm gonna bow to you on this one.
That's fine.
Because I think yours is more realistic. They've taken some positive steps. No doubt we're due a strong bit of feedback from James Rabowski for not putting him in that top group after this podcast. But I think, one step forward. They do need to keep that momentum going. And it'll be interesting to see how they go in Abu Dhabi, and then do they come out strong at the beginning of next season, or was this just a flash in the pan?
Time will tell.
So yeah, one step forward.
One step forward. Great job, Germany.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Les Bleus,
the
French Les Bleus. Interesting season for them. I mean,
well, what did we call them last time? Hot or ice?
Hot or freezing?
Yes,
freezing.
Yeah.
Hot or freezing, and that has continued because we went to Sassnitz, having the rudder fly off, Content de la Pierre be taken to hospital. Next up, win the event. Hot or freezing.
Classic.
It's not a tier for this one.
No.
But I think for me, it's very much, what could have been. Whether they started the season in their F50, if their wing didn't collapse, if their rudder didn't fly off.
Yeah.
So many moments that have rattled that team, missing out on the final last season in a match race with Spain. Like, missing out on the final before with Ben Ainsley schooling them in a match race. I really felt like it would have been for them like, okay, this is the year we're going to make the final. That's kind of just nothing's really gone their way. But to see them win in Sassnitz and what that meant for them, I think it was just a little bit of a reward for, I guess, the pain that they've suffered this year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I totally think that's the category. Like, what could have been. Because I just wonder how many seasons we're going to say that for the French, because they've definitely had some moments of bad luck, but they also do have some self-inflicted inconsistencies.
Yes, true.
Which is kind of like, it almost frustrates me, because when they're on it, they're so good. I mean, even in Cadiz, they had a shocking first day when they needed a good day to keep any season hope alive, and then the next day, Contan's, rolled out his starting gloves, and boom, they're on fire, and they look awesome again. And I think that's something they've, as a team, got to look into. There were a few things out of their control this year, which is, a bit gutting, to be perfectly honest, and that a team doesn't get a chance to either succeed or fail by themselves. But yeah, there's still that inconsistency in their sailing that makes me feel, unless they make some sort of changes, we're going to have this exact same conversation next year. I don't know, the stereotype of French in a sporting sense in England, if you use the rugby, is the French flair. Yeah. And they, to me, are all that. They are like just magic when they're magic, but then they can just drop the ball.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think whilst I'm 100% putting them in the what could have been category, I don't doubt that they're having some tough conversations.
Yeah.
Because what is going to make the difference so we're not on the outside next season? Agreed.
Yeah. I don't know. What is going to make the difference? Still think they're a little bit of a weakness in the lighter
stuff. Yeah.
A little bit inconsistent there. They definitely got better at it. And then, you know, will they make personnel changes? I don't know. They're quite quick, but
Yeah.
maybe to continue doing the same thing, expecting different results, is madness. You know, Einstein said that, not me. So it's worth,
like, wow,
it's worth listening to.
Stevie Morrison coming out with the golden nuggets.
It's like listening to Socrates, isn't it? Absolute philosophizer. And I think they've got to make some sort of tweaks and changes.
Yeah.
For me to do,
right.
you know, to bring it in.
Time will tell.
That's not a section.
All right, moving to the next team, Los Gallos.
Los Gallos.
Wow.
Well, we don't know yet.
We don't know. I mean, it's not over.
You can't ask us to do this right now.
But that's why we're the experts. We have to give opinion.
Okay.
And my opinion on the Spanish, I don't know. It's so hard because I don't think that they're at the top of their game. I don't think that they've had what we sort of saw at the, you know, earlier in the season. And whilst they're fourth and they're still in the hunt, I'm a bit like...
It's weird, isn't it? It doesn't feel like they're fourth, does it?
No.
Somehow. Like they had one event, San Francisco, where they looked sort of, had that swagger and that, you know, they just sailed so fast. I think they're not, to me, they don't seem quite good enough on the tight courses.
Yeah, that's fair.
On the smaller racetracks, they struggle a bit. And actually, bar that last race in Geneva.
Oh, they got lucky. That went ahead.
Yes. I mean, it was a really like last minute that there was a race. And that, I mean, New Zealand were on the other side of this, where one missed lay line by Burling and he would have been round and into the final. He got the lay line wrong. Moments matter. There you go. Top coaching, Lisa Demanen. There you go. But I think...
You're welcome.
I think, yeah, well, I need all the help I can get. We've seen that from my predictions. That is for sure. But yeah, I think it's probably a what could have been, because there's the moments of I feel like they need a different category, which we haven't got. But
yeah,
they almost need
what could have been.
Nice one, but
okay, but what could have been? All right, so thinking back to the US, San Francisco.
So you're saying they're not going to make the grand final? What happens if they make the grand final?
Well, then we're going to have another tiers and rank everybody.
Okay.
But okay, well, I think when I think of the Spanish, I think of, you know, coming off the back of New York. You know, they won back-to-back events. You're heading over to Europe. Is this going to be the Spanish like asserting their dominance? And then it was kind of all unraveled from there. So if I think about what could have been, you know, do you take that momentum and you ride with it? But it's kind of been they've come unstuck since that break. And, you know, we also have a big break between Cadiz and Abu Dhabi. So is that break going to be good, going to be bad for them? Are they going to have time to
Diego and Florin have just won the 49er Worlds in that break.
Yeah, so I mean...
so they've not lost it.
At what they do. Yeah, they went straight from Cadiz to that World Championship.
Yeah,
so I think, you know, they're incredible races. They're very good and obviously shown that last year wasn't champions by accident, that they certainly sort of deserve to be there. But I think that they've got a real fight on their hands to try and get into that top three. But to be in the hunt at the end of the season is you know, very good for them still.
Yeah, and I like, you know, I think I'm happy to put them in that category because I personally feel like we should have been given another category.
We'll provide that feedback.
You know, that might be a bit like meh or something category. I'm not sure, but they're
fourth in the championship. I know. Not quite meh.
And I think, and I think nothing says more as to how good they are than that. I feel like that. But, you know, they're fourth.
It's like as expected.
They've scrapped away. It's as expected, I think, of them. They're the real deal, like you say. They've shown that last season wasn't a fluke. They're good enough to be in that thing, but they're just not quite connected things. It is still to play for in Abu Dhabi.
I was pressing that for so long.
Really.
Sorry.
So, yeah. I think, you know, it really shows the Spanish have arrived. You know, they're here. They're the real deal. And yeah, will they make it in Abu Dhabi? It's possible. My gut feeling says they won't. My gut feeling says the top three will remain the top three. But, you know, it's LGP. If we've seen anything from these last few events, it's that anything's possible.
100%. Okay. Next up, Mubadala, Brazil.
Ah, interesting.
Now, this is a tough one for me. I think when I think of this team, I think it's tough conversations.
Yeah.
it's, new team. I think we've given them quite a lot of lenience in our tiers podcast so far this season. But for them right now, obviously 2 race wins, awesome work by the team. We've got it in us. But for them, just watching them, sometimes it just looks like it's all going wrong. And I think it's one of those things that, okay, this is our learning season, but what are we having to do next year to be really in the mix? Now, I don't think looking at that team right now and how they're sailing, it's not like they're going to go into next season and be like, yeah, we learned heaps, like, let's go to next season. It's like, no, what are we going to do to level up? And at this stage, that's just to get to the mid pack. That's not even to get into the race to the finals. So I think for them, it's tough conversations for everybody on that team, for coaching, like just everything. Like, how do we change things up?
Do you keep the same lineup? Do you go and get other people? What do you think they'd want to do? Come on, this is Lisa. Right now, we're doing Lisa Dumanin for CEO. Okay, we're making a bid for you to step out of the Tiers podcast, which I don't want, and you to step into the CEO.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, just looking at the personalities on board, maybe not critiquing their finite trimming or flying skills. Obviously, we know that they're good, but I think the personality dynamic is one that is, I'm not exactly sure how that works. You've got Paul Goodison at the back, amazing, successful sailor, British, who, great strategist, with Martin Grail, Brazilian flair, amazing athlete, obviously doing quite a good job driving the boat, but just that dynamic would be quite unique. Then you've got Lee McMillan, completely different personality, also overrides quite a lot. You hear him, yapping away, and as a driver having 2 strong male voices yelling at you, where you're like, I just want to shut up and do your jobs. I don't know exactly how that rolls. And then you've got Andy Flying, who is
he worth his money?
Yeah, he's more of a quiet soul, but I think he's probably not. He's not probably impacting that conversation. But the 3 at the back, there's some very strong, dominant voices. And I just think that in those short courses where there's lots that needs to be said, are the airways getting sort of jammed by too many opinions? I don't know, you might have listened to more onboards than I have.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think there are some strong voices. I think for me, the progression's not quite been as linear as I would have liked from them. Like, they have had the moments of brilliance. And to be honest, I think in the first podcast, if I got anything right, it was to say that I think Martini's one of the best seat of the pants flair sailors in the world. Yeah. That little bit of a samba. And I don't know, how they've perhaps kept a little bit too much samba and that's stopped the progression. But that's where I feel and maybe a lot of these new teams, there's no surprise, we've got to go at the end of the season, we've got to be brutally honest and say, I've got to step up and improve my game through it. And yes, is that too many voices? So then things are getting confused because we're moving around the place. So I think there could be some personnel changes required, as you say, to set the sort of tempo on the boat.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I think tempo is
better.
Huge, communication, and kind of letting Martine shine a little bit. And I think not quite agreeing with you in the sense of these short course races, whilst there is structure that you need to have in your race, I think the way that the starting box changes and the way that you approach a start has to change based on the wind strength and the shape of the box and things like that. I think actually watching them is they're trying to put a formula. This is the same with the other new teams, is they put the formula in place. Like, okay, well, we go out here and then we make the maneuver here and then we come back. And they kind of have a plan. But because they're new, they stick to the plan and then the plan won't always work. But because they haven't sort of had the experience to be like, well, this will work because this is what's playing out in this situation, that she can't basically lean on that kind of bank of experience.
Yes, yeah.
So I think that's a little bit part of it. So kind of, I guess, looking at different situations and trying to kind of upskill as quick as possible by kind of trying to learn situations before they happen, which is really difficult to do.
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
No, it does make sense. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, ultimately, I suppose if we wrap it up, it's like there's been a lot of lessons learnt this year. It's probably slightly jumbled in the team. as to where we've learnt these lessons. So we don't know how to necessarily grab that lesson when we want. So let's review the year, have some true and honest discussions about what was good, because there's, as you say, won a few races. They're so near the final in New York.
Yeah.
You know, so there's been some good moments, but the progressions, you know, it's maybe taken a little bit of a dip.
Yeah, it's tough to sort of like, I guess, as you said, not linear, but to kind of end the season with a bit of a low.
Bit of a lowish point. And, you know, and when you look at, say, when we were sat here before and we'd have been talking with Germany and, you know, and then you see what's possible, you know, it's not much of a flick of the switch, but it's probably come from actually some fairly
really
serious
looking internally.
honesty.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So some tough conversations to be had for them.
Yeah.
Next
Tough
up,
conversation to us, that was, wasn't it?
It was tough.
Yeah.
This will be even tougher.
Oh, will it?
Northstar.
Ooh. I mean, for me, I don't know what come on.
I'm going to go, I think I'm what could have been for them, because halfway through the season.
It blows my mind, Lisa. How can.
Well, where are you going to put them?
Tough conversations.
Yeah, but
Since they left America.
You can have a tough conversation.
I don't know if there's like a
lack
lack of hamburgers or something like that on the rest of the tour since they left the American leg. But they were in California. Man, they were
contestants for the top three.
Cali cool, weren't they?
Yeah.
Look, fast, accurate around the course, you know.
They had 3 podiums in a row.
Final, just absolutely cruise. Exactly. You know, full Northstar, full lumberjack mode.
Yeah.
And then since then, I think it's been their best results, maybe been a 7th.
Yeah.
Something like that. And they've had some 10ths. And I mean, I feel like there's got to be some tough conversations. How do you go from that good mid-season to where they are now? I mean, yes, you can say what could have been, but I think we can say for all of them what could have been.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yes, I definitely think that they're having.
Sorry, I relatively feel a bit passionate about this one.
I can tell. I definitely think it is a what could have been season for them. Halfway through, I was like, oh my gosh, how cool would it be if Canada's in the fight at the end of the year?
100%.
Look like that. But I mean, even just doing our post-race interviews with Giles, I'm kind of asking him, you know, where are you coming unstuck? Like, what was so hard about today for you? And he just kind of shakes his head. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, we've got to look at it. And I think, like, as you said, okay, I'm coming to you for this one. There will be some very tough conversations, but I think that those conversations we'll be having in between Cadiz and Abu Dhabi already. They'll already be reviewing, like, what changed, what was the difference. But to me, when we're reviewing the past 4 events, surely after every event that was so poor for them, it is a tough conversation. Just knowing the people on that boat, I imagine that they are, you know, knowing Giles and how much of a, you know, champion he is, how much he was obviously going to be analysing his performance, the team's performance. Like, I don't think they haven't been having tough conversations, but maybe they're just having, I guess, the wrong conversations. Like, you know, they coach pretty well.
Yeah, no, and yeah. Well, like I say, you know, there's some really good people and they won't be shying from it. I think what's interesting is if you look at the hours the drivers have had, Giles actually hasn't had many.
True.
You know, he's in a comparable window of time on the helm as Eric Heil.
Yes.
You know,
so I guess what they did this year so far was quite good.
I mean, there's a case to be made that says they overperformed in those few events and perhaps set our expectations jangling.
I actually think that is a theme of the Canadian team.
Really?
Yeah, like
over-exciting us.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season,
underwhelming us. Yeah.
Over-promise, under-deliver. Yeah, because I mean, even when they had their previous driver, they came out front like, oh my gosh, it's a Canadian team. And then halfway through the season, it's like, where'd they go? Like,
Like. It's interesting, but I think there's a element because what got me was you saying in the post-race interview of Giles not being quite sure. And I think that's often a sign of being quite head in the boat because you're not perhaps as, you know, relaxed and it's not all quite as natural and flowy to be looking out and go, okay, well, I was just not getting the shifts today or I didn't start well today or whatever it is. The fact that Giles not sure almost to me says that, you know, they need some training time. They need some hours. And it'd be interesting how they approach Abu Dhabi, like with a mindset of, actually making some quite substantial changes and don't really care about the result.
Yeah.
And maybe they've been doing that already. Maybe they're trying some things because they were the team that did the most testing with the T-foils. So first onto the T-foils, that was around that run.
Yeah, 100% from Auckland.
And then maybe everyone else is learning and they've not, so tough conversations. To me, they've been a bit sort of a little rigid in their starting technique.
Yeah.
And then occasionally then that has meant then their execution, if they don't execute it perfectly, they're swamped.
Yeah, then they're just sort of
because they're still
catch up.
Brilliant when they have a good one, but if they make a little mistake, it has a vibe of snowballing.
Yes, 100%. It goes from bad to worse.
Yes, and I think that's perhaps the one thing of how do we, if we go back to the black foils and we had a conversation earlier where I just don't know how you gauge the emotion of a Kiwi. and I'm specifically using Peter Burling here and that New Zealand team is, it feels like they could be first, last, whatever, and you've got no real idea.
Peat every single time.
Yeah, exactly. And
there's no woo-hooing happening on that boat.
No, exactly. No, there's not a lot of high-fiving. No, exactly. There's just a oh yeah, and we'll go to the next, But that, I think what that does is that just gives that level of execution that means once that mistake's made, it's not even thought about. Or once that good thing's done, it's not even thought about.
Not until we're in the debrief room, yeah.
Yes, afterwards. So yeah, I think for where are we? I'm adamant, serious conversations and not what could have been.
Tough conversations ahead for the Canadian team. Locked in.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right,
it's lovely to feel compromise.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, they learned the alphabet. I actually have them written down here, so I am a fraud. But next up, we have RedBull Italy.
I'm going tough conversations. Well, especially from me. I put them 6th in my ranking.
You should be ringing them up and say, what were you thinking?
I am livid.
Yeah.
If this was next season, I would be losing the ranking championship because of RedBull Italy's dismal effort at getting to 6th. Because
they're in 10th at the moment.
Yeah. No, okay, sorry.
I mean, it is tough.
Sorry, Jimmy, don't beat me up.
So I guess you probably put very high expectations on them for a new team.
Yeah, I just thought Rugy, catamaran sailor, foiling,
double Olympic
gold medalist. You then had Carl Langford, 3-time champion. Well, worst he's done is 2nd. I mean, he's like the wing trimmer, isn't he? He's the most decorated wing trimmer in the league.
Yes.
And I just thought, and then in New Zealand, they
put in Jason Saunders.
And it's not all on Andrea Tessi. Like, I'm not saying it's all about
everyone's got to do their job.
But it's like they've won a race
in Saint-Tropez,
and that's cool. Like, it was really nice to see. But again, something's not quite right. You've got in your coaching booth, you've got Jimmy Spittle, right?
He's okay.
Knows where the wind's coming from, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You've got Philippe Presti, regarded as like, the
coach. He was with the Australians when they won multiple times.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And, he's probably regarded as the head honcho coacho, isn't he, And so they've got all of that knowledge there. Well, and Kyle, in there of this pool. And it's just, for whatever reason, they don't look all that quick. They've not quite solidified the manoeuvres. And they're not, to me, they've not shown a super strength.
No, it's not they can do well in this strength.
Yes, I sort of thought.
I'm surprised as well. I mean, I think they're kind of like where they, I guess where you think a new team might be, but I thought we would see more magic, inconsistency, which would put them in 10th. But I think they've been consistently underwhelming.
Yes, that's right. I thought there'd be that bit more flair
for the future.
Yeah. Maybe get that one stuck in the middle of next season. Yeah, but no, I've been a little disappointed, and I feel like that things have. I mean, they just will change.
Yeah. Changes. And knowing Jimmy.
Because Jimmy's not going to muck around.
Jimmy's not going to wait around, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We're very aligned on this one.
There's already there's already rumours that he's in the market.
Oh, I've been
hearing
what I mean? A lot of rumours about the Italian
I feel like
team.
we could do another podcast here. The Lisa Darmanin, who's going to be
the who's who.
Full of tears after their contract negotiation.
The Real Tears podcast.
Yeah.
But no, okay, so Red Bull Italy, tough conversations ahead. Jimmy Spithill on the phone having some good, tough conversations.
Yeah, I think that, that they've got work to do.
100%.
They've got a big start to season 6, I think.
Okay, ready for our next controversial one? Rockwool Racing.
Oh man, I'm feel like the Slater at the moment. I mean, they've probably been my disappointment of the season. And the reason I say that is because I know how good they are.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why. So it's not clearly, they're sort of sat in around the middle, aren't they?
Yeah, well, so
where are they again? Remind me where they're coming right now.
So Denmark
Getting
now are in 7th.
7th. Yes.
I had them in 7th.
Of course,
you had them in 5th.
Yeah, there you go. So another one.
No wonder you're disappointed in them.
Yeah, I think they. Yes.
So for me, I agree that there's tough conversations to be had for them. But for me, I really think at this point of the season, it's one step forward.
Yes.
And the reason being is I guess when we caught up after Portsmouth, it was like, what are they doing? I don't even know what this team is anymore. Whereas the last couple of events, it's like, it feels like they've unlocked. They finally worked out how to sail on the T-foils. Like how obviously they missed out on the final in Cadiz, which, we thought they were pretty much locked in there.
Yes. Yeah,
but seeing them actually sail around the race
they sailed
course
very
really
well on the Saturday, didn't they?
Start
Yeah.
really well. It feels like they've kind of unlocked what we saw last season, which made you want to put them 5th.
Yes.
And so for me, it's like one step forward for that team being like, oh, we've figured it out. And whilst they obviously have to build on that, I think they're probably still disappointed where the season's ended up, I think that it would be a relief to be like, okay, we've figured out how to sail this new technology. Yeah,
I think you're right. I mean, Nikolai's been quite vocal, hasn't he, that they haven't felt fast enough and they haven't quite, been in it. I mean, I've looked a little bit at their onboards and things.
Fastest team.
Well, fastest team, yeah. I mean, in a split second.
I know, but we haven't spoken about that.
It was one of my moments of the season, to be honest, or possibly the best moment. Was
103.93.
And they were talking, it was shaking, and Nikolai was like, "Oh, I know we've got a good shot of this." I thought that's pretty casual mid-race or start of the race. Oh yeah, let's go for the speed record. Fair play. But I mean, that's what I mean. I thought they were going to be. I thought we'd be having the conversation. And we'd be talking about 5 boats that could make the grand final in Abu Dhabi at this point. And I thought they'd have been, well, one of them clearly, because I said they were 5th. I thought they'd be right in that mix. So I think you're right. In Cadiz, we saw a hint of the old Rockwool Denmark.
Yeah.
And but yeah, there's been some changes. They had a new CEO in who I think might have gone again. Anyway, that came through.
It was the Swiss.
Yeah, Tongi. And rumours around that anyway, but I know they brought in some data analysis, got themselves into our what must be now a very full Oracle cloud, because there's so much sort of information for them to get into, and just some of the setup stuff, the wing trim, the foil sort of work, and how they're pulling off manoeuvres, they've definitely sort of tweaked and got a little bit more accurate with. Because it used to be their strength, like their manoeuvring, they were so good. They were on this beautiful sort of linear progression. And yeah, I think, Nikolai's done a good job of resetting the ship in what was looking. So yeah, fair enough. I'm still livid that they aren't 5th, and I feel like they still feel like they've been my disappointment, because I know how good
you had high expectations for them.
But I'm happy to go with you, because I think that
one step forward.
They have had a step forward, yeah.
Right. Ready for Switzerland?
We.
So the Swiss, they're currently in 8th.
Yeah.
Now, you had them in 10th and I had them in 11th.
Yeah, and weren't they last year?
Yeah, they were last year.
So
they've made They made the final in Geneva.
Final in
The
Portsmouth.
final in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
So I think for them, they've definitely exceeded my expectations.
And a full new crew.
Pretty incredible.
Pretty much. Like
Except
a
for
pretty
Seb.
full, yeah, except for Seb. Yeah, they've brought in a sort of, well, Arno and then Brian Matreau on the flight control. They've got Stu Dodson, Matt Gottrell, haven't they? You know, in that team. And then I think
And
they
Maud at the
changed.
back.
Was Maud there last
She
year? though?
wasn't. She was
No,
doing
she
the
came-
Olympics. So
Copy,
she was
yeah. So
focusing
Maud
on-
coming in as well. So quite amazing to have done that big Control-Alt-Delete, I suppose, reset. Here we go again. Maybe with a bit more of a Swiss identity. Perhaps that sort of helps them. They do seem to still speak English on the boat, mainly from when I listen in on board, which I still feel like there's a lot of detail lost in language. But anyway, that's a coaching point for them to think about going forward.
They can
But
call
equally, I'm
Stevie
not-
Morrison up.
Yeah,
Not going to give it away for free. Come
No,
on.
oh yeah, no, exactly. That is a good point. That's we need an invoice. But yeah, I think that they're very much one step forward.
100%.
I think and I think when I again go back to that comparison with who am I trying to compare them with? Like the Italians in terms of a super strength. I think the Swiss, when they're in a bit of space, that's a super strength. If they can put themselves somewhere on the course where they've got a bit of space, they can be pretty quick.
Yeah.
They are not good enough boat on boat tactically.
Yeah.
They make too many sort of little errors.
They wobble when they're in that situation.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the decision making isn't perhaps, well, accurate enough to start with, but also decisive enough.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a work on for them next year and looking forward. But in terms of their strength, give them a bit of space, and they're fast enough to compete with those top boats.
Yeah, interesting. I think, win in Portsmouth and they basically get like last in the next event and then they come back. And, it's been a very like yo-yo situation for them. So I think, I haven't really thought about it in heavy detail, but I think maybe
You've got a way fuller life than me.
Yeah. the type of race course might impact them.
Yes.
So obviously Portsmouth was like a pretty condensed race course. It's pretty clear which way you needed to go. Geneva, same thing. Like it was pretty clear where the wind was and you kind of had to go for a condensed race course. But when you sort of get to stretch your legs a little bit or it might be a bit more of a dynamic course, they seem to struggle.
Yeah, we've had a few shifty ones, haven't we?
Yeah.
Since we chat, like Sassnitz, Saint-Tropez, look strangely unstable in Cadiz actually. For a breeze off the sea, it was moving around a bit. So yeah, I think you're right with that, and I just think a little bit like a season 2 France maybe, or season 3 France, where you put them out in front, they've got the speed, but they're sort of generally speaking sailing a bit fast and loose. So if they then don't get the start, they've not got that ability. What separates your Australias, your New Zealands,
they
your great
fight their way through.
And they fight their way through when they have to. Yeah, they've got that ability to turn a 9th into a 6th or a 5th. Yeah. Switzerland haven't got that yet.
I think they're moving in the right direction for sure. I think they're, as we've said, taking a step forward, and if they can keep sort of learning and keep moving in that right direction, they'll be
good season for them.
Yeah, I think that's a win. It's probably entering this season, we had low expectations on them, I guess, based on our rankings. And I think it's probably...
based on the fact they were last year.
Yeah, but also like considering the uphaul and the change, I think they're definitely where they probably should be.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
But one step forward for them. And then final team.
Final team already?
Yeah.
Lisa D. Time flies with you.
We're agreeing too much.
Yeah, but that is true.
Here you go, let's disagree. United States of America.
United States of America. Interesting. Because again, when we last met, talked about season over. There's always next season. Let's have a bit of a reset. And, I would argue they are listeners to the pod.
Yeah.
Because they have...
Oh, they were listening to what we were suggesting.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were listening to what we were suggesting, and they have...
Welcome, Taylor.
Exactly. Yeah. And they've got in new strategist. Got Andrew Campbell in. They got Mike Menninger in on the wing.
New wing trimmer.
They've got that. They've Anna's still sort of in that grinding unit, but she's growing into the season. She's more used to the role. You can hear her a little bit more owning it in the boat, you know, which is sort of good to see. They've got new coaching. I mean, they got massive backroom staff. If you listen to their comms on board, the number of voices coming out. I mean, I definitely think I'd try and filter that out a little bit in terms of the input. Ironically, they could have done with a little bit more input when they were having that massive incident with the British, but maybe we didn't want to dwell on that. I mean, what a moment that was. Were you on the water then?
I was on the water, and it was like all of a sudden they were both stopped, and then I just saw bits of boat floating in the water. And I was like, that is not good.
Yeah, that was mad.
I mean, I think, you know, we've seen the onboards over and over again. We've heard it, and I just think, obviously, bringing new people in, I think was the right decision. But with bringing new people in, you've got to learn how you're communicating. You've got to gel. I think it just like wasn't very clear what was needed to be done.
Yes.
And why. Yeah. And I think that was just, you know, really obvious. It was like Emirates Great Britain wasn't even mentioned.
No.
And I think for them, they've been having the tough conversations for sure. I had them in tough conversations ahead because I still think that they've got a lot to do to be able to take it to the next level. They're erratic. They are sometimes on, sometimes off. They're making mistakes like that. They've had, I really think they've had a diabolical season. They're still on negative points.
Yeah.
Like, that's not ideal.
It's hard to find positives.
But yes, they are making changes because they're having those tough conversations and they are listening to what Stevie and Lisa have to say on the Tears podcast. But I think for them, I still think tough conversations, okay, we cannot have the same season we've had this season.
Yeah.
And while they're putting the things in place, I still think their debrief ahead of Abu Dhabi and their debrief ahead of next season will be pretty...
Well, probably don't want to listen to me then, because I was actually going to put them in a one step forward from where we were when we last talked. That's why I felt it, in as much as, you know, and this comes with a few
into Emirates Great
Well, I know, and that's the thing. But they'd had a couple of good races, and then yes, they had a catastrophic crash, which is inexcusable. You know, I mean, I think the interesting thing as well, not to dwell on that crash too much, but is for listeners and everyone to realise that also the coaches can see where the boats are on screens and communicate with the team. And so, yeah, there's
a lot of
teams
were probably at fault within that situation.
Yes,
well, it's not on one human in that one athlete in that situation.
But they had some good ones in Saint-Tropez.
They were sailing well in Sassnitz before that happened.
Yeah, well, exactly. They were sailing very well for their season, you see.
Am I going to bend?
I'm not entirely sure you should bend. I think maybe we should put them in the tough categories bit. With the seasoning of one step forward, because they've made some changes. They've clearly had some conversations that will have been not easy.
Yeah.
You know, they've had I would imagine quite a humbling season.
Yeah.
For ultimately, I mean, all these sailors in the league are sort of rock stars in their world, but I'm sure it's been quite humbling for them, and they've had to. That won't have been nice.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I feel like they've made a few changes the right way, which is nice to see. They've had some good results. Yes, we've not seen anything like, well, ironically, it was Dubai. So maybe they're going to be looking forward. They started the season well in Dubai.
They made a final in Dubai.
Yes. And then...
that's right.
They did. Yeah, they started the season with the final there. That light winds, tight little venue. Suits Taylor.
Yeah.
Taylor, I still think, in terms of that...
if you're talking about someone that has something that they... like
a super strength. He's got that. And that boat-on-boat positioning in the pre-start and that sort of pre-planned technical sort of sailing execution, he's pretty good at, you know. That's definitely a strength of theirs. So I think they'll be looking forward to Abu Dhabi. I'm happy to leave them in the tough conversation. I mean, we're right towards the end of the season. I kind of feel if you haven't won, you need to be having some tough conversations.
Yeah, I mean, so everyone's having tough conversations
down there because it's a reset. Those top four teams that we've only sort of brushed on here, and I can't wait to see how that final pans out in Abu Dhabi. Then, you know, they need to be in the now. But for everyone else, I think it's let's think about season 6 and have those tough conversations. However, some teams need to have a tough conversation, as we've said, with having said, oh, we were nearly there, this was, good, and what could have been, and we're making some improvements. How do we keep making those improvements? We said so. I definitely feel the US have moved in the right direction, but they've moved in a right direction from somewhere they shouldn't
have been in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways, these conversations should have happened earlier, and but that's why I said
you were being
step in the right direction.
Yeah,
well, I see a few sprouts of hope.
Yes.
In their situation.
I agree.
And I think we've seen some good races that resembles the talent on that boat.
Yeah.
But
all right.
100% needs some tough conversations.
We have liberty to say, but tough conversations with a seasoning of
yes,
forward.
Much like we had hot and ice cold.
Yeah. I want to have a tough conversation with you shortly about who we think is going to win.
Oh, perfect.
Overall. But before we do, I thought we'd just run through where we've ranked everybody.
Yeah, a copy.
Top of their game, Emirates GBR, Black Foils, Bonds, FlyingRoos.
Agreed.
All right. What could have been? Le Bleu, the French team, and Los Gallos, the Spanish.
Yeah. And I still don't think my German call was bad, but I agree that we stick with them.
One step forward, we've got Switzerland and Germany by Deutsche Bank, which feels pretty. I feel happy with that.
Yeah.
Happy so far.
Did we not? Where were Rockwool Denmark? Did we? Or were they in tough conversations? But you thought they'd gone one step forward. Yeah. I thought Rockwool Denmark, you'd gone for one step forward, and I had sort of come to you with the fact they were one step forward. As long as they took that step, they were having some difficult conversations.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So, one step forward: Switzerland, Germany, Denmark.
Copy.
Tough conversations. Everybody, but most importantly, Brazil, Northstar, RedBull Italy, and USA.
Yeah, with a seasoning of hope for the USA.
Happy with that?
I'm happy with that, yeah. Okay. Yes, yeah. And as I say, I mean, anyone out there that's disappointed with their review, remember that Germany just listened to the advice, had the tough conversation, and turned it around.
And won an event, so.
Yes. So.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
All right. Who do we think is going to take out the championship? Or who do we think is going to be the top three?
I'm pretty convinced it'll be Emirates GBR, Black Foils, Australia.
Yeah.
I think the trouble Spain have got, and it's the trouble they've had for the last 2 or 3 events, is those teams haven't really dropped the ball.
Yeah, and I think...
So Spain have been pretty solid.
But with the Spanish, it's like they were not looking in very good shape in Geneva and pulled it out of the hat in the last race. Same with Cadiz. I feel like, day one was not a great day for them. And then day 2, they were like, oh, we need to pull something out here. And they salvaged it. But Abu Dhabi's not a situation where they can salvage. No. Abu Dhabi's a situation where they need to dominate and they need it to go wrong for somebody else. And with Australia, I think 5th was their worst event before Cadiz. And they basically, if that's your average poor result, then the Spanish have their work cut out.
Yes. No, I strongly think that top 3, to be honest. One caveat being, if Spain get in the final, which I don't think, they win it.
Yeah.
Because they'll have so much momentum and they'll be sailing so well.
That's their style. That's what they do.
Well, it is their style.
New York, they almost didn't make it. They made it, they won.
Yeah. I just think
season grand final.
To make it, they're going to have to be on fire. I think they've got to win Abu Dhabi, 1st or 2nd in Abu Dhabi. And yes, as you say, hope that Australia have a bad one or the Black Foils have a shocker.
Yeah, which could happen.
Could happen, yeah.
But it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's tough in sailing where, your destiny's not in your own hands.
Yes.
It's not like who beats who.
Especially when it's in the hands of Dylan Fletcher, Peter Burling and Tom Slingsby. So you're not exactly, you're not sort of dealing with people that normally slip up.
Yeah, exactly.
And people that aren't used to a bit of pressure. Talking of which, let's assume it is Great Britain, New Zealand, Australia in the final, which, given how my predictions have gone this year, I've probably stitched someone up, is $2 million for a 12-minute race, man. How cool to get that opportunity to do that race. What a privilege.
Oh, it's so amazing. And I think, drawing on experience of racing at the high level, you train, you work so hard, but then getting that moment where you get to put it all on the table and show what you've got, that racing, that like sort of high pressure, it's now or never. Like I love that. And I think that, being someone that is a racer, like that's what you live for. So I think, talking to those drivers in the mix zone, they want to be dominating, they want to be 20 points in front, but also knowing that, that fight, that fire that you need to have to like really pull it off, I think is something that you just sort of live for. I mean, you've been there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was lucky. I mean, I never got to do a race for $2 million, unfortunately. I think probably about 50 quid pocket money or something like that from the sailing club raffle.
Yeah, but high pressure situations. You've been to the Olympics.
I've been World Championships and Olympics and things like that. Yes, no, I had a very lucky time doing that. And it's magic, isn't it? That's why you want to feel. I mean, that's in many ways that's why I like the commentary, is because it's the one thing that gives me those nerves where you're saying something live and trying to judge a race live that
you've got to put your opinion on the line.
You've got to put your opinion on the line, which is what these teams are going to do. And so, given that we're going to put our opinions on the line, and being a gentleman, I will offer you the opportunity to go first.
Oh, it's really tough, and it pains me to say a little bit because obviously I'm very objective in my commentary, but I just think for me it's between the Black Foils and Emirates Great Britain. I think the Bonds FlyingRoos, whilst they're been having a really consistent season, I just don't think that dominant. If we were going to San Francisco, I'd have a different opinion because I think they thrive where they can stretch the legs, rely on boat speed. Abu Dhabi, I think it's going to be very much in the starting and getting clear. And because of that, I think Emirates Great Britain will lead going into the final, but the Black Foils are going to take it out. I just think that Peter Burling has something to prove. I think that he wants redemption. I think that he's got a great track record with Abu Dhabi and Dubai, very similar race courses, tight. You've got sea walls on both sides. I think that sort of more lighter breeze suits his style. His starts are generally, I haven't looked at the stats, but I think generally he's pretty good at pulling them off in those situations. So pains me to say the Black Foils have my vote. Yeah. I mean, I think the great thing about it is it's sort of too tough to call. Yeah. With any. So you're going to sit on the fence now that you made me pick. No. Yes. Yeah. True, gentlemen. Too tough to call. Yeah, that's it. Nice one, Lisa. Good luck with that. We're off. It is too tough to call. It's anyone's. So that in mind, I think the Black Foils have to lead at Mark 1. Yeah. That's one. I don't think they're quick enough to overtake. Agree. I think they are very good at their boat on boat position. If they win the start and they lead at Mark 1, I think they probably will go on to win. Yep. Australians, see, I feel they were really fast in Dubai and they just made a clanger in a couple of races. And that was what sort of did them wrong out there. My concern with Australia is that Cadiz was a shocker for them. Well, the second half of the season, Tom Slingsby hasn't had to start a lawnmower, has he? Let's be honest. Yeah. Like even Geneva, where they sailed really well. Shocking in his starting, as opposed to early season. It was like watching this guy it was like watching Neo from The Matrix dialed into that start line, wasn't it? It was just like he was perfect. So if he can refine that in this little break, I think for them, I think 6 weeks break is good. It's good for Tom. Yeah. I think really good to have that break and get himself back, family, relax, and then go out there. Because let's remember, in that final, the only one that's done it of those drivers is Tom. So I think that is an advantage. I mean, personally, I lean to the Black Foils. I think in that 3-boat finals, I feel this year they've done it. Can't agree again. Well, no. Yes, I think unfortunately, I think we're going to agree. Because I think it makes sense because what we're doing is like to make this prediction, which is like the hardest thing to do because they're all so good, is trying to use. I struggle to call it a prediction. I feel it's like we're making a guess. Yeah, we're guessing because it's that tight. What I do think is that I think Australia have the boat speed to overtake. Yeah. GBR have the boat handling that they will be able to force an extra manoeuvre in to force a split and then potentially leave it in Mother Nature's hands if they're not there. I don't feel the Kiwi boat handling this year has been good enough
to make an overtake. That's why I think they have to be there at the beginning. To make an overtake, you're always relying on the person ahead of you making an error.
Yeah.
$2 million race. There's a lot of pressure that I believe that, you know, even though they're the best, people are going to make mistakes. So it's going to be who makes the least and who makes the right decision when it absolutely is crucial. But I feel Australia and Great Britain have got the capability to overtake given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Don't think the black foils have, but I think black foils will lead at the mark. And it's rare that Burling leaves the door open. So I'm going black foils, but I genuinely think it could end up in the hands of Craig Mitchell and a decision, umpire decision, that is really tight. And
that doesn't fare well for Tom Slingsby.
Well, maybe he's due one, but you know.
Maybe the luck will finally fall his way.
If you think of that final in Cadiz, you know, it was so tight, wasn't it? They got the overlap 30 metres from the zone. I think that could be in the zone this time or not in the zone, or, you know, it could be really tight, and I think it could go to an umpire decision. But I'm giving it to the black foils.
Interesting. Well, what a good chat.
Always is, Lise.
It always is. I mean, I think, you know, it's been an incredible season. I think, you know, obviously we're looking at the grand final and that's where our focus is, but there's still a big fight to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix as well. A lot of these teams maybe haven't won an event or need a win going into next season for their confidence. It's a quick turnaround to the 2026 season. So, and there's a little bit of shuffling that can happen down the leaderboard so that I get, you know, 10 out of 10. I mean, 12 out of 12. But, you know, still plenty to play for, still so much excitement to come, and it's going to be an incredible grand final. I'm already like getting the jitters. It's great.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Really can't wait.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Tears. Make sure you like, subscribe for more content heading your way, and we will see you for the grand final in Abu Dhabi.